Hi, Mark. I'm going to read some news. The first news title is World's Ugliest Dog Edward dies in New Jersey. Edward, the Chihuahua and Chinese Christie mix whose unusual appearance won him the 2007 title of World's Ugliest Dog, has died unexpectedly. At the age of 8, his owner said on Saturday, "It was very sudden," said a tearful Karen Creeley, 52, of Selwell, New Jersey, who adopted Edward in 2006. The homely but lovable 5-pound canine died Thursday, on Thanksgiving morning. "He was in my arms," Creeley said. She said the veterinarian believed he might have had some kind of cancer. Edward was dark and practically hairless except for a tuft of white hair on his forehead, and had a long protruding tongue. A breeder had seen Edward too ugly to sell and was planning to euthanize him, but he was taken in by one of the breeder's friends. Creeley adopted him in when he was 9 months old. After winning the annual World's Ugliest Dog contest held in California, he developed a legion of fans who sent him letters and postcards. This led Creeley to write "Everyone Loves Edward," a children's book about self-acceptance. Edward has a magical power to make people smile and laugh that made him very attractive, especially to children, said Creeley. Edward would pose for photos with people at charitable events. "He was the most beautiful dog I've ever seen," said Creeley, who has rescued other dogs as well. He told children it's okay to be different. The next news I'm going to read is topless barber charged with unlicensed cosmetology. The mourned woman who allegedly offered topless hairstyling services in Northern Colorado faces criminal charge. The police said the problem isn't cutting hair without a top, it's cutting hair without a license. The Lamont Times reports 46-year-old Shazati Hall was arrested Wednesday night on suspicion of practicing cosmetology without a license. Hall's former partner says she advertised $45 topless haircuts online. According to the arrest warrant, the former partner called police about the topless styling because she did not believe this was safe or proper. Police weren't able to turn up any Craigslist ads. Hall's ex-husband told police she set up shop in Loveland and oversolicited a rebel barber. He told police she applied for a nude license for hairstylist, but no such license exists. The next news I'm going to read is mother on crash plane led searchers to wreckage. Anchorage, Alaska, a mother on board a plane that crashed in remote southwest Alaska made a frantic phone call for help rescue shedding her 5-month-old baby, then left the fatally injured boy to lead searchers hampered by cold and fog to the crash site. Melanie Coffin, 25, of Mountain Village, walked nearly a mile toward the lights in the village of St. Mary's to meet rescuers Friday night. "I believe she's the real hero in this," said St. Mary's Village Police Officer Fred Lamont J. one of the dozens from his community and surrounding villages who responded to the crash that killed 4 and injured 6. The Hajj Aviation Cessna 208 turboprop left Basel at 5:40 p.m. on a scheduled flight for Mountain Village and eventually St. Mary's. St. Mary's, like scores of other Alaska villages east of the state door system, people routinely use small aircraft to reach regional hubs where they can catch another plane to complete trips to Anchorage or other cities. Megan Peters, a spokeswoman for Alaska State Troopers, said the airplane would have been flying in freezing rain with a mile of visibility and a 300-foot ceiling. Lemon described conditions as iceberg with moisturely stuck to vehicles. The airplane never reached Mountain Village. It crashed around 6:30 p.m., 4 miles from St. Mary's, said Clint Johnson, head of the National Transportation Safety Board in Alaska. Pilot Terry Hansen, 68 passengers were Porty 57, Richard Porty 65, and the infant White Covey died in the crash. The survivors included Melanie Covey, Pauline Johnson, 37, Keelan Johnson, 14, Tanya Lawrence, 35, Garrett Moses, 30, and Shannon Lawrence. All were seriously injured and 4 were in critical condition, Damon said. All but Hansen and Shannon Lawrence are from Mountain Village. Troopers said Hansen was from Basel. According to troopers, information was available about where Loreno lived. This image provided Saturday, November 13, 2016. Courtesy of Alaska State Troopers shows the right edge of Lemont. The village police officer is also trained as a health aide and was working with an ambulance driver Friday at about 7 p.m. He said Melanie Coffey called another on-duty health aide to say the airplane had crashed and she needed assistance. She was trying to do CPR to her newborn baby, Lemon said. He called for help. Lemon and the driver headed out in the ambulance to look for the crash. After health officers put out the call for responders, 2 state troopers assigned to the community joined the effort. People from the Mountain Village and Picard's Point, which are connected to St. Mary's by local roads. They helped search by car and snowmobile. Whoever had a vehicle was out there looking, Lemon said. For Humphrey, the search and responders could not immediately locate the crash site despite speaking to the injured. We had no clue, Lemon said. Coffey, who suffered chest tremor, tried whistling to alert searchers, Lemon said. She considered starting a fire to get their attention but eventually decided to start working toward village lights. A GCI communications chart with a red stripe led her 3/4 of a mile to the village landfill. That's where everyone found her, Lemon said. She led searchers back to the crash site. It was not accessible but snowmobile. Rescuers put the injured on stretchers and carried them out on foot to the landfill where they could be transported by ambulance to the village and then flown out. A Coast Guard C-130 could not land because of fog, but the injured were transported by a Life Alaska flight and 2 other aircraft. NTSB investigator Clyde Johnson said the cause of crash has not been determined. It's very much in preliminary stages at this point, he said. Two investigators were on their way to Baxter on Saturday to meet troopers for transportation to the crash site. Reaching the wreck edge will depend on weather and the safety considerations, Peters said. No one was at the crash site Saturday morning. There's no rush to get there, Peters said. There's no reason to risk anyone's life because no one's life is in jeopardy. Heartland Aviation is part of the AERA group that includes AERA Aviation. Heartland President Jim Hexon said in a statement that the crash is an unspeakable tragedy for us. Heartland is working to gather information, to answer questions, and do what we can to ease the suffering of those involved in the accident, he said. The next news I'm going to read is Beijing destroys barbecue grills to cut pollution. Beijing is waging a war against air pollution, one barbecue at a time. Authorities in the capital have destroyed more than 500 open-air barbecues to cut PM 2.5. The tiny particulate matter in the air that can enter deep into the lungs. Photos carried by state media showed workers on Tuesday cutting pieces of metal with sparks flying as city wardens looked on. Citizens online ridiculed the exercise, suggesting authorities should focus on bigger sources of pollution. A media officer at Beijing's Sichuan District Administration Bureau said the hundreds of barbecue grills were confiscated over a 3-month campaign and cut up so they couldn't be used again. She refused to give her name, as is common with Chinese officials. Environmental campaigner Mei Jun said residents had complained to environmental agencies in the past about the odor and smoke from open-air barbecues. This action will help local residents, but to deal with the bigger air quality problem, we need to have priorities, and I think one of the major priorities should still be the motor vehicle emissions, said Ma, director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs. He said the focus should be on improving the fuel quality and emissions control of heavy-duty diesel trucks, while also involving the surrounding regions, not just Beijing. The capital's pollution regularly reached hazardous levels. The city government announced last month that emergency measures such as factory shutdowns and traffic limits would kick in when air pollution levels are particularly heavy. The next news I'm going to read is MLB Union released drug report. A drug report jointly released by Major League Baseball and the Players Union Friday showed that Adderall use is on the rise, among other findings. The report was submitted by Dr. Javrin M. Anderson, MLB's independent program administrator of the Joint Drug Prevention and Treatment Program. It covers the 2012 off-season through the 2013 season and only applies to players and Major League 40-man rosters. The main findings from the report include the total number of drug tests that were conducted for the presence of performance-enhancing substances and/or stimulants was 5,391. The number of urine samples collected and analyzed for the presence of performance-enhancing substance and/or stimulants were 4,022. The number of blood samples that were collected and analyzed for the presence of human growth hormone was 1,369. 8 tests were reported by the testing laboratory for having an adverse analytical finding that resulted in dissupply. All were for stimulants. The substances reported were Adderall and methylhexanamine. The Los Angeles Times reported that 1 in 10 players are treated for attention deficit disorder with Adderall, which is about double the rate of the general population. The number of Adderall exemptions in MLB has increased significantly since 2006, 28 in 2006 to 103 in 2007. When amphetamines were banned, most players using Adderall are doing so under the direction of a doctor and with approval from MLB. 13 non-analytical positives resulted in discipline. Those represent the players suspended for their link to former South Florida anti-aging clinic Biogenesis. Therapeutic use exemptions were granted to 122 players. The diagnoses were 119 for ADD and 3 for hypogonadism. A body's sex glands produce little or no hormones. Next news I'm going to read is music-based program may boost seniors' brain function, mood. New York. A music-based training program that challenges both the body and the mind may improve brain function and mood among seniors, suggests a new study from Switzerland. The take-home message is that 6 months of music-based multitask training, a specific training regimen which was previously shown to be effective in improving gait and reducing force, has beneficial effects on cognition and mood in older adults. Dr. Melanie Haas of Geneva University Hospitals told Reuters Health in an email. Jacques Delacroix his mix was developed in the early part of the 20th century by the Swiss composer Emile Jacques Delacroix as a way to better understand music through movement. It is practiced worldwide, particularly in the fields of music, theater, dance, and therapy, according to Haas. A typical Jacques Delacroix session involves participants adapting their movements to the rhythmic chants of improvised piano music. In Haas' study, the participants were challenged to perform specific multitasking skills, such as working to the rhythm of a piano while handling a percussion instrument and responding to changes in the piano's rhythm. The study participants were also asked to perform quick reaction exercise, such as starting or stopping to work or changing their working speed on command, as well as matching their steps to the long or short music notes that were played. The study included 134 men and women aged 75 years on average, who were all at increased risk for falls but who did not live in a nursing home or other facility. These seniors were randomly divided into a study group that attended hour-long music-based multitasking sessions once a week for 25 weeks, or a comparison group that just kept up their normal lifestyles and did not attend the training session. At the beginning of the study, both groups underwent a battery of tests for mental function and mood. After 6 months, the 66 adults who participated in music training sessions showed improved cognitive function, particularly on a test of their degree of sensitivity to interference, and decreased anxiety compared to the group that had not done the training. This may have implications for everyday life function, since many situations require individuals to pay selective attention to one thing while blocking out something else, such as distracting surroundings. Hart and her co-authors write in the journal Edge and Aging. How the training might be responsible for the improvements is unknown, Hart acknowledged. However, she noted some studies suggest that music can mitigate effects of the aging brain, and some studies have revealed that specific physical exercise regimens may enhance not only cognitive performance but also brain function or brain structure of older adults. Jacques Delcourt his mix put it all together in a program that combines gait, balance, movement coordination, and flexibility training while also engaging attention and memory skills. Haas said, this is likely to engage multiple brain regions through a combination of music, reason, and exercise. Haas said, whether the training is also linked with fewer falls or improved working ability. In the senior experiments to be studied, the researchers point out their report. The next news I'm going to read is no special characters required. Password app use facial recognition. Thank you for joining our community. Please enter a password consisting of 17 completely written alphanumeric characters and 3 special characters. It might not be on all keyboards. The password should be impossible for hackers to guess and impossible for you to remember. Sounds familiar? The creators of FastCrypt have apparently heard on your pen. Their newly released app uses facial recognition technology to keep a person's passwords, photographs, documents, and credit card numbers secure on their smartphone. The cheapest version of the app is free, but limits the number of entries per category. The basic version costs $4.99 and allows unlimited entries. Another version goes for $6.99 and features customizable icons. The app is fairly simple. When setting up your profile, the app takes a huge picture of your face. From there, you can fill your vault, where your information is securely stored. When you want to access your info, open the app and hold your phone in front of you. The app will scan your face for a match. All versions require a decent amount of light in order for the in-phone camera to recognize the user. For those who worry that a hacker should imply hold a photograph of the phone's owner to the camera and gain access, FastCrypt gives users the option to blink repeatedly to prove they are a real 3D person. Take that, nosy roommates. Password fatigue is a growing problem. A 2012 poll from Harris Interactive revealed that 58% of online adults have 5 or more unique passwords associated with their online logins, and 30% of people have more than 10 unique passwords they need to remember. Jeremy Ross, the creator of the app, told the New York Post the idea came to him a year and a half ago while he was searching for a password manager that didn't require its own special password. It just dawned on me, he told the Post. The next news I'm going to read is French riders protest over tax, saying horses will suffer. Paris. Thousands of horse lovers paraded their animals through central Paris on Sunday in protest against a penny sales tax rise they say will put riding centers out of business and send horses to the slaughterhouse. The protest by riders from across France came a day after unions in the western region of Brittany organized a march for jobs and social protection attended by thousands, one of many in the region in recent weeks. Anger at taxation, unemployment stuck at 11% and sluggish economic growth has sent thousands of people into the streets across the country over the past 2 months. On Thursday, farmers blocked roads around Paris with tractors to protest against a so-called eco-tax on road freight and the penny sales tax. Organizers of Sunday's protest said the EU mandated the rise of France's VAT to 20% as of January 1st, from the 7% reduced rate paid by equestrian centers today, will shut down a fifth of centers across France. Some 6,000 jobs will be lost, they estimate, and 87 horses will have to be sent to slaughter. Riders, up in arms, shouted protesters carrying signs reading, "Sales tax at 20%, death of the horses and ponies." Guillotine. A guillotine was wheeled through the streets, its blade poised above a toy horse's head. Another horse, a figure, was mounted on a crucifix. One side read, "Too many taxes." Spatfleur, a reference to a French firm the government said sold horse meat labeled as a beef that made its way through the European food trend, prompting a food scandal earlier this year. It's a death blow, such Lecomte, president of the French Horse Riding Federation, told Reuters TV. That's why people are so worried, because they see the end of their activity and the end of a lot of establishments, the jobs, and the horses. Some ponies sported red blondness like those worn by protesters in Brittany and by peasants who rose up against tax rises in the 17th century. Some marchers were horse-raced. Socialist President Francois Hollande's popularity ratings are at record lows, with voters angry not just over a lack of jobs, factory closures and taxes, but over issues ranging from immigration to bickering within the government. The government has been pushing to maintain the 7% reduced sales tax rate for equestrian centers since March 2012, when the European Union said that rate was improperly applied and threatened a heavy fine. As negotiations with the EU continue, the government has said it will prop up the sport. He has said it will prop up the sports sector with additional funds to make up for the higher sales tax, beginning in 2014. The next news I'm going to read is football team realized around 6-year-old should wearing watch coach. Danny Keefe has childhood dyspraxia of speech, which means he doesn't speak very well. He also loves to wear shoes and ties, even though he's only 6 years old. So when 11-year-old Tommy Conley heard Danny was getting picked on at school because of the way he talks, he decided to do something about it. He put on a suit and tie too. Their relationship began this past spring when Danny asked his mom if he could join the Bridgewater Badgers Pee Wee football team as watch crush. The team's coach, Thomas Conley, said yes, and Danny was given a football jersey like the rest of the team. But he asked Coach Conley if it would be okay if he didn't wear the shirt, but he could be wearing his shoes and hat to the games. Danny's mother, Jennifer Keefe, told Yahoo News, "He just feels more comfortable." 6-year-old Danny Keefe prefers to wear shoes and ties. Courtesy of Jennifer Keefe, she's not exactly sure where his affinity for dressing up comes from, but she says Danny's wardrobe consists of 5 or 6 shoes or various ties to go with them. "They get pretty worn," Jennifer Keefe said, "because that's all he wears." From the day he was born, doctors warned Danny's parents that he would be severely disabled due to a serious brain hemorrhage. According to Enterprise, "You can understand a couple words, but you probably can't understand the story he's telling you," Jennifer Keefe explained. "That's why Danny was picking on. Other kids call him a baby," his mother said. One day, Danny came home from school and said that kids were picking on him. Keefe's oldest son, who is a member of the football team, told Tommy Conley. Danny said, "I don't care what those kids think of me. It's only what I think of myself," according to Jennifer Keefe. Tommy Conley went to his mom and told her that he wanted to wear a suit to school. "I thought it was so nice. I was so touched that he wanted to do that," Jennifer Keefe said. "Then, next thing you know, I'm getting texts from various parents saying, 'Where do you find shoes? My son wants to wear a suit.'" All told, 54 kids showed up to school in either full shoes or shirts and ties, according to Keith, who said it all began with Tommy wanting Danny to feel loved. He was showing him he was loved by dressing like him. Danny's reaction to the boys, swanky, straight. Just his expression, Jennifer Keefe said. His eyes got really big and a smile, and then he said, "They dress just like me."